Alrighty. What's up, guys? So this is going to be the second tutorial um, where we're going to go over um, how to model this sort of shelter. So the way we're going to tackle this is we're first going to approach it in plan view by creating this tapered base, and then we're going to create the start and end point of a form using curves. So if you haven't already, open up Rhino 7, and we're going to start off by going to our top view. And from our top view, we are going to use the command line. We're going to start off by drawing a line that is 12 feet. Then we're going to draw a line down the midpoint of this line that is, let's say, 17 feet. And then you want to draw a line that is 2 feet, or 4 feet. So now that we have these lines here, we can actually get rid of this middle line, and we can repeat the line command by right-clicking, and we will just join all these lines to make one closed curve. So we have this, and now, similar to the previous one, what we want to do is we want to join these curves together by selecting them and either doing Control-J to join or type in the command join. And you'll see that it now says 4 curves joined into one closed curve. And if they're one closed curve, we can select that closed curve and type in the command planar surface. And you'll see that it looks odd, and that's because our display is currently set to wireframe, so we'll set it to shaded. Now we can see that surface. Oh. Sorry about that. So then the next step is going to be we're going to go into our perspective view, and we are going to now try to create that start and end point for the shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in the command dupe edge, and we're going to duplicate the first edge, the shorter edge, and the longer edge. And then we're going to extrude each of these curves. So we're going to extrude this one first using the command extrude curve. And we're going to extrude this to a height of, let's do 6 feet. And then we'll repeat the command by right-clicking, select this larger curve, hit enter, and we're going to set this one to 14 feet. Now once again, we're going to use that dupe edge command to get those curves instead of the surfaces. So we'll do dupe edge, and we'll go and we'll select the sides and the top of each of these surfaces. Like so. We'll hit enter, and then without clicking anything else, we're going to type in join, or Control-J, so that we join those into a one open curve instead of 3 open curves. Then we can select those base surfaces that we had and delete them. Now to get the that tapering of those surfaces in between, what we're going to use is a command called tween curve. So we'll go ahead and we'll type in the command tween curve. It's going to say select start and end curve. So we'll select this curve and then our smaller curve. And it's going to ask for a number, so we only want like 12 maybe. And you'll see sometimes, you know, Rhino isn't a perfect program. Sometimes it's going to bug out. So the issue right now that we're having is that, there you go. So if I undo that, so you have tween curve. So what it was doing before is it was trying to tween from this corner to this corner, and all I had to do to fix the tween was there was a line. If you go back a few seconds, there was a line that was going across here, and all you have to do is just it's like if you see that, so there's that line. So that's why the tween is screwed up, because it's trying to go from this corner to this corner. If we move this to over there, now we're perfectly fine. That's the tween we want. So we go ahead and hit enter. And now that we have all of these tween curves, where each of these is going to be a surface, or one of those forms and beams. So what we'll go ahead and do next is we're going to select each of these and we are going to offset them. So we'll type in the command offset, and we're going to offset them for a distance of 1 foot. And we want to make sure that they are set to, we want to have our cap set to flat. And so we'll do 1 foot. And then to repeat the command, we'll just right click. Keep doing it. We do all of them. All right, so now that we have all of those, you see they're all offset, and they all, because we capped them, they have this line that connects them. We can now select all of them and type in the command planar surface. So now we have all of these surfaces going from start to finish. Now the issue that we have now is similar to the last project where there is no thickness to these surfaces. So what we'll go ahead and do is we will select these surfaces, and we will type in the command offset surface. We want to make sure they're all going in the same direction, so we can we'll offset all of them forward, and we'll do it by make sure it's set to solid. Delete input. We'll set delete input to yes. Solid, yes. Distance, yeah, let's do a half a foot. Then we'll hit enter. It'll take a second, and then you'll see we have that thickness established. So let's go ahead and let's measure out and make sure that by typing in distance, let's make sure that it's half a foot, and it is. All right, awesome. So we're getting closer to what we want this to look like. So if we go back to our reference image, so the next thing we need to do is we need to try to get that the beam that's running between them. So let's do that next. So if we go to we're going to draw a line. So we use the line. We're going to go from one inside corner to this corner. And you'll see if you go from the right corners, like if you go from the exact same corners, reference corners, you'll have a straight line that doesn't get cut. Then we're going to we want to offset these. We want to offset them inward. And we were going to do like a half a foot. So we'll select the curve. But remember, this time actually we want the cap set to none. And we'll select our curve, offset it 5 feet in. Do the same thing to the other side. Oh, that's not the curve we want. Awesome. So once we have those curves offset inward, we can select those original curves that we drew, and we can just delete them. And we'll go ahead and we will select those curves. We offset, and then we're going to extrude them. So we'll use extrude curve. We'll extrude them downward, and we want to extrude them for a let's see, for a distance of let's do 1 foot. I think that's good. Now you'll see there's this issue where the beams are actually poking through, and then on the other end they're going to be too short. So to fix this, we're going to use the command called extend surface, and it's going to extend a surface. It froze up for a second. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. So it's going to ask for an edge to extend, and it's going to extend it on the surface tangent. So we'll select this edge, and we'll just extend it through. And here we actually want to extend it past that point. So it's kind of poking through, just like that. Then we're going to select those two beams. We're going to use the split command, and we're going to select the first and the last one of these that we had created with the tween curve, and we're going to use those as our cutting objects. We'll hit enter, and you'll see that it's highlighted this, and it has those cut markers, and we're going to type in the command isolate so that we can just see this, and we're going to delete all of those pieces that we don't need that we're poking through. And then we can type in the command show to end our isolation mode. Then we can do offset surface. And we want both of these to offset the same direction. So we're going to offset them inward. And let's do like 3 inches. And let's see, something like that. Awesome. All right, so that would be a good time. All right, so now is a good time for us to go and we're going to go and reorganize everything. So let's create a layer called our base, and create a layer called the tween curves. We'll create a layer called the beam, the enclosure. We're going to make some benches, so we'll make a layer for benches. And let's make a layer for the roof. And that should cover everything. So let's go ahead and we'll do cell curve to select the curves. And let's go ahead and isolate those. And we can delete those curves that we don't want. And we can select all of these as curves and set them to the tween curves. Now that those are set to the tween curves, let's go back to our layers panel and let's turn off tween curves. We'll type in the command show to end our isolation mode. We'll select our base. We'll set our base to the base layer. We will set our polysurfaces to the enclosure layer. And then we will select our 2 beams and set them to the beam layer. All right, so we just did a little bit of quick layer organization, which is good. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle building the roof that's going to go over this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the command dupe edge to get the edges of these polysurfaces. So then we're going to do the same thing over here. Hit enter. We'll do join. We'll do isolate, so we're only looking at those. Actually, now that I think about it, we actually don't want these to be joined. We want them to be individual curves. So to unjoin something, it's not you wouldn't use the command ungroup. Here you're going to use the command explode to unjoin things. So now it breaks those up into individual segments. We're going to use the command subcurve, and we're going to shorten these side curves. And we want to actually turn, copy off. So let's start here, and let's go down 1.5 feet. Do the same thing to each of these curves. We'll go down 1.5 feet. We'll go down 1.5 feet. Down 1.5 feet. Awesome. So now we can select all these curves. Now we can type in join. They're how we want them. And we can type in the command show to end our isolation mode. Now what we can go ahead and do is, so the first thing we can try is we can see if when we do this, it creates what you want. So we'll type in the command loft to create a surface between those 2 curves. Now what you see, there's a bit of an issue with this loft. It is cutting through these surfaces. It's not going exactly how we want it to go. So, one way we could just hide this by just offsetting the surface. So that might be the way to go. So we can just select the surface, type in the command offset surface, we'll offset it out, and we could do like 6 inches and see what that looks like. Oh, so that's not bad. I'm not sure if we're getting this sort of bad corner. It's like a bad surface. I'm not entirely sure why we are looking at. So when you get a bad surface like that, a lot of it just comes down to troubleshooting. Let's see. We could a different way that we could try to tackle this is let's go ahead and for the purposes of this tutorial, let's go ahead and let's just offset this surface, even though it's creating somewhat of a bad surface. This is something that if I do another video, or if you run into, I can kind of take you through the steps for how to tackle a bad surface. You might have to use something like sweep 1 or sweep 2 to fix this. But for the intent, for the purpose of this tutorial, I don't think that it's necessary for for you to have that at this moment. I think the idea of the offset surface is kind of what I want to get to. So you have your roof, so we'll put this on our roof layer. Our roof layer. And now let's go ahead and let's do the benches. So to get the bench, we're going to do dupe edge. We're going to duplicate this edge here. We're going to offset it. Let's offset it by like half a foot. And then you're going to subdivide that curve using subcurve. I'm going to shorten it to 6 feet. And we're going to offset that curve again, but this time we're going to do like, maybe 1 foot. Yeah, let's do like 1 foot. And we'll go ahead and loft those. And to select that loft that we just made, we'll use the command cell last. And then we'll go ahead and move that up 16 inches. Go ahead and delete those initial curves that we had made. We'll offset this surface down and do half foot. And then to create those legs, we're going to use the dupe edge command. And it's kind of hard to look on the bottom of this when it's like this. So once again, we're going to select it, isolate it. We use dupe edge. We'll select both of our edges here. And then we're going to actually offset both of these in. Like so. So we're going to offset them in. And then you will select those curves that we just offset. We will type in show to end our isolation mode. And then now we're going to use the command extrude curve. So we'll extrude that curve down to the base there. So those will be our legs. And then we need to create a thickness to them. So we're going to use the command offset surface. We're going to use both sides, and we're going to set the distance to 0.25. And then we'll hit enter. And we can go ahead and you can select, hold those, type in the command group or control G to group them together. We'll go ahead and use the command mirror with copy set to yes. And then we're going to go from one midpoint to the other, creating that second bench. And let me look at the reference photo and let's see how we're doing. I think that's going to do it. So that's going to conclude this tutorial. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see if we can solve them. I hope these were helpful, and thank you very much.